Hello, welcome to Department 62. I'm Judge Colliver. I'm so excited to have you here in the courtroom with me today. I'm going to walk you through the different areas in the courtroom, and we're going to talk a little bit about what is done here in this courtroom and the court. I'm sitting here in what's called the bench. The bench has an interesting history. First, it can simply indicate the location in the courtroom where a judge sits. It's also used to describe members of the judiciary collectively, like a group of judges would be called the bench. The term is also used to differentiate judges, who are referred to as the bench, from attorneys or barristers, who are referred to as the bar. In law, the bar is the legal profession as an institution. The term also means the line or bar that separates the parts of a courtroom reserved for the spectators and those reserved for the participants in the trial, such as the lawyers and the parties. This was true a long time ago when judges traveled from community to community to hear cases. People would come and watch, and there were spectators that would want to see what was going on. And they would hear the matters as well, and there was an actual physical bar that separated the people coming to watch from those that were the parties in the case, the judge, and the attorneys. So we are here in the Superior Court of Orange County. There are many different locations throughout the county with various different courts that hear all different kinds of matters. This happens to be a criminal courtroom, but there are civil, criminal, family, juvenile, probate, traffic and small claims, as well as the collaborative courts. Now, it used to be that everything was done by paper. When I first became an attorney, you would go to the different offices downstairs and file all the documents by paper forms, and there were file rooms and many, many files and documents. Nowadays, as I guess you've probably guessed, there's a lot of different ways to handle the documents, and we primarily are digital. That means things are stored in our computers, things can be filed electronically, even things can be heard electronically. We have the courtroom set up with screens and cameras, so things can be heard remotely if necessary. We know that in recent times we've had to explore that even more, and the court was able to fulfill all those needs and do everything electronically so that we can make sure matters continue to get heard and justice can still be served, even in trying times when things are required to be electronic. That's because we have so many things that have been set up electronically. All of our documents, I can look up a case, find it on my computer, find out who the attorneys are, find out all the information about the case and all the past and future dates, and be able to look at that at my fingertips very easily on the computer. The attorneys typically come into the courtroom. They would sit in front of me at the counsel table. Counsel is another fancy word for attorney or lawyer. They would sit at the table in front of me, and the defendant sits on one side and the plaintiff sits on the other side. Those are the two parties that we have in criminal cases. Those are the same parties that we have in civil cases. So the plaintiff side would sit on one side. They're the moving party or the party that's brought the case to the court. And the defendant would sit on the other side. They're the party that has been brought to court by that action. And they both have different roles, and they would sit at the tables in front of me, and they have electronic capability as well. They can go on their computers, they can pull things up and show them in PowerPoints and on the screen. And in many cases, like the criminal cases we have, that is done in front of a jury. And that's to my right. There's a jury box. There are 12 jurors. And in our court, there are 2 alternates in this particular courtroom. Other cases have different numbers of alternates. That's 12 jurors that are selected to sit and listen to the facts of the case and listen to the law that the judge gives. And they are asked to decide how the case comes out, the decision, the ruling, or in this case, it would be the verdict in the cases. If it is a court case, the verdict is rendered by the court, the judge, and if it's a jury case, the verdict is rendered by the 12 jurors. How does one get the opportunity to sit on a jury? A jury is made up of members of the community. Once you're old enough, a jury summons will be sent to you and you will have the opportunity to report to court and participate on jury service. The right to a jury trial remains one of our greatest checks and balances in our democracy. It's very important to our system of justice, and it's pretty interesting to be able to be here in person and watch the trials that you usually only get to see on TV or movies. You actually get to participate and take part firsthand. At trial, evidence comes in various different ways. It can come in through documents and exhibits. It can also come in through witnesses, and they would testify in the witness box. To my right, and in some courtrooms it's to the left, is the witness box. And they would sit in the witness box. They would be sworn in under oath to tell the truth, and then they would give their testimony. There are a number of people you'll encounter if you come here to the courtroom. The main person that runs the courtroom as far as keeping everything in order, maintaining the court record, summary of everything that takes place in the courtroom is the clerk. In my courtroom, the individual sits to my left, and they talk to the attorneys, they make sure that the exhibits are properly marked, and they make sure the courtroom runs smoothly. The bailiff, who is also here in the court, they are the first person usually that people coming into the court would see. They make sure there's order in the courtroom. They make sure that the rules are followed as far as the courtroom procedures. And if any jurors or guests to the courtroom have questions, they would field those questions and make sure that they directed them to the proper locations or answers that they might need. They are also, of course, here to keep the court safe and to keep everybody that comes into the courtroom safe as well. Sometimes we have a calendar that involves lots and lots of cases, not trials, but hearings, like an arraignment calendar. An arraignment is usually the first place that somebody would go if they have a criminal case. They would go to their arraignment. It would be their first time in court. They would be seen by a judge, and they'd have an opportunity to have an attorney appointed or to go get an attorney in their case. And they would have an opportunity to plea in their case or continue their case to a different day. And in those situations, we often have additional courtroom clerks or attendants that can help due to the nature and volume of the cases in those courtrooms. There are also sometimes interpreters needed in the courts. People come from all different communities. Our state is very diverse, and we want to make sure that anybody that comes to the court has access to justice, and that means that they need to have proper interpretation so that they can be understood and they can understand all that is going on in the court. There are also sometimes court reporters. They would sit to the right of the court, to the bench, depending on the courtroom. They would sit in front of the bench, and they transcribe on it looks like a typewriter type device. They would transcribe all that is going on, and they actually use computers now as well, but they transcribe all that is going on in the courtroom. They write down all the language, all the descriptions that are being said in the courtroom, so that if at a later time we need a record of that could be printed out into a booklet and we can look at it. This is the gavel. Although it's not used very much today, traditionally it was used to call a court into session, to bring order to the court, or to conclude the court for the day. And with that, we will be concluding. It was really lovely to be able to spend time with you today. I really hope to see you here in the court. Come visit, and thank you very much for watching.